This will sound very strange, but the infamous UNABOMBER, Ted Kaczynski, is a prophecy that is predicting that Kamala Harris will die in a plane crash that will be caused due to a bird strike on precisely November 3rd, 2022. After Harris's death, she will be replaced by Michelle Obama, and soon after, Barack Obama will replace Michelle. This is the reason why Kamala Harris will die in a plane crash. It seems that God is pointing to the date December 13th, 2022 as the day that Michelle Obama will become the president. The date that this video is posted proves that this prediction was made ahead of time, as does this timestamped email and forensic notes PDF. If you are skeptical, please email me and I will forward these to you. It has been known since the autumn of 2020 that she will die in a plane crash. But as can be seen here in this email, it was known since August of 2021 that God was pointing to the date January 14th, 2022 in regards to Harris's death in a plane crash. The majority of this video was produced before January 14th, 2022. Prior to January 14th, 2022, the Lord was pointing to this date with an overwhelming amount of evidence through connections to other signs that involved symbolism for the death of Kamala Harris in a plane crash, which is why prior to January 14th, 2022, it was assumed that this would be the day that Kamala Harris would die in a plane crash due to a bird strike. However, instead, it turned out that January 14th, 2022 was a day of prophetic signs that confirmed all of the analysis of the signs and connections that were pointing to January 14th in regards to the death of Kamala Harris in a plane crash. It turned out that January 14th was another important step in the trail of signs that is ultimately leading to the day that Kamala Harris will die in a plane crash. Prior to January 14th, 2022, I had learned that God was also pointing to June 7th. One reason being is that it is 144 days after January 14th. I knew that if January 14th were not to be the day that Harris would die in a plane crash, then it would be expected that there would be a prophetic sign involving the number 144 on January 14th. Sure enough, we received an amazing prophetic sign involving the number 144 on January 14th, as was expected in advance. This prophetic sign involved 144 horses. The explanation of this prophetic sign, other signs that occurred on January 14th, and many other extremely profound things are explained in the must-watch American Pharaoh prophecy video. The American Pharaoh prophecy video should be watched before watching any of the other videos that are predicting Harris's death in a plane crash. I recommend pausing this video here and watching the American Pharaoh prophecy video, and then returning to this video. The number 144 is prophetic because of the prophetic number 144,000 in the book of Revelation in the Bible. The prophetic sign on January 14th involving 144 horses confirmed adding 144 days to reach June 7th, and the relevant prophetic signs that occurred on that day, including an announcement from Kamala Harris, the 49th Vice President, regarding America's border wall of security. In the book of Joshua in the Bible, the Hebrews marched around the walls of security of the ancient city of Jericho for 7 days before they collapsed in God's judgment. Right before the walls collapsed, 7 Hebrew priests blew 7 trumpets that were made from horns of bighorn sheep. This is symbolism for 7 times 7 equals 49. June 7th was the 7th day after park rangers at Joshua Tree National Park closed its 49 Palms hiking trail in order to provide bighorn sheep access to water. The hiking trail is symbolism for the Hebrews' march around Jericho, and June 7th was the 7th day of its closure, which symbolized the 7 days that the Hebrews marched around Jericho in the book of Joshua. This trail, named 49 Palms, is near Los Angeles, the hometown of Kamala Harris, the 49th vice president. 7 times 7 days, which is 49 days, after June 7th, was the day of the closure of the I-70 highway and 70 rescues by firefighters in the extremely prophetic, historic, and destructive flooding in St. Louis that pointed to the 70-mile-wide path of totality of the Great American Eclipse that passed over St. Louis and peaked right near St. Louis and ran parallel with the I-70 highway. This flooding in St. Louis on July 26th is in turn 100 days, which is the equivalent of 144,000 minutes before the date it is predicted that Kamala Harris will die in a plane crash on November 3rd, 2022. But there is much more to this explanation, along with many other amazing things that are explained in the January 6 committee hearing prophecy video. The January 6 public hearings prophecy video will explain the most profound story that God is telling through the prophetic signs that occurred on June 7th, and also through the extremely important January 6 committee hearings that revealed that Kamala Harris will die in a plane crash on November 3rd. In the description box below this video, I will leave a link to the American Pharaoh prophecy video and the January 6 public hearings prophecy video. Once this prediction for Kamala Harris's death in a plane crash due to a bird strike on November 3rd comes to pass, you should know that you should watch every minute of every video on this channel. However, time is short, and so I will leave a list on my website of the most important videos. The rest of this video will be an explanation for the trail of signs in God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections that were leading and pointing to January 14th, 2022. I will not edit the rest of this video that was produced before January 14th. Instead, I will leave this video the way it is. Again, the explanation for how January 14th is pointing to June 7th and November 3rd is explained in the must-watch American Pharaoh prophecy video and the January 6 public hearings prophecy video. The rest of this video will explain the amazing and very important information regarding God's big picture of signs that were pointing to January 14th. God is telling many stories through his signs, which is why all of the videos on this channel should be watched. I need to make one last important announcement before we begin the subject of this video. What proves that the Bible is the inspired Word of God is Bible prophecy. The reason why 1/3 of the Bible is prophecy is for the purpose of God proving that the Bible is inspired from God. Jesus claimed to be the Messiah that Bible prophecy speaks of. Jesus was the first to deliver the gospel of salvation to the world. To those that doubted him, he told them that if they didn't believe what he told them, then they should believe the signs and miracles that he did. After Jesus, the apostles continued the mission of spreading the good news of salvation through Jesus Christ. Until the books of the New Testament were completed, God confirmed for people that the words that the apostles were speaking were true through the signs and miracles that accompanied them. What confirms that what is being explained on this video channel is God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections, and what proves the things I am saying in these videos are true are the predictions. If you don't believe me, then believe the predictions. This is the purpose of the prediction or predictions being made in this video. That said, in order to understand why God has given me a voice through these predictions, it is absolutely critical that you watch all of the videos, every minute of every video. And most of the most important videos are likely not on the social media platform that you are currently using. It is critical that you learn the information God wants you to learn, which is the reason why God has provided these predictions. People have their worldviews, and so people will tell themselves in their own mind how and why I was able to know these predictions in advance. However, I assure you that your assumptions are not correct. I have spent the last 5 years working from morning until night learning about God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections. I assure you that I know better than you the reasons for how and why God has given me a voice through these predictions. In the description box below this video, I will leave a link to a video titled God's Purpose for These Predictions. It would be an enormous shame for you to learn about these predictions, but not know the reasons for how and why God has given these predictions. In other words, unless you watch this video, God's Purpose for These Predictions, you will have missed the point of this video and the point of this video channel. Make sure you watch the video, God's Purpose for These Predictions, either before or after watching this video. I will be slightly more blunt. It would be very foolish to not learn the reason for how and, more importantly, why God has given me a voice through these predictions. In other words, don't be the foolish person that will choose to skip the video titled God's Purpose for These Predictions. Choosing to skip watching this video because you think you know better and more than me, and you think you already know how and why I was able to make these predictions, would be very foolish. Ted Kaczynski, also known as the Unabomber, was an American domestic terrorist. He was the subject of the longest and most expensive investigation in the history of the FBI at the time of his arrest. He was arrested in 1996, 17 years after he placed a bomb on the cargo hold of the American Airlines Flight 444. And this is what makes this a sign. Also, he injured 23 people nationwide, and as we will see later in this video, God uses the number 23 to reveal the identity of the Antichrist. God also uses the number 44 to reveal the identity of the Antichrist, hence why Flight 444. The number 17 God uses in his signs as Antichrist symbolism because the Antichrist will be vanquished at the return of Lord Jesus Christ on the Day of Atonement, which is the 10th day of the 7th month, which is symbolizing the number 17. And also in Bible prophecy, the beast and the dragon, which symbolizes the Antichrist, has 7 heads and 10 horns, which the number 17 also symbolizes. Also, the big judgment warning sign, which was 9/11, was when the 2 planes struck the 2 towers 17 minutes apart. And in this sign, we have a flight, an American Airlines flight, Flight 444. This 444 reveals the identity of the Antichrist, who is known for the number 44, the 44th president. And the Unabomber injured 23 people, and the 44th president wore jersey number 23 when he played basketball in high school. The number 444 is also Antichrist because the 444th word in the Greek New Testament, G444, is the word for man. The number 490 comes from the most central prophecy in the Bible, in Daniel chapter 9, regarding the timing of the arrival of the Messiah and the Antichrist's rule, the end times period. This prophecy is the 70 sets of 7 prophecy. 70 times 7 is 490, which is why exactly 490 months after Ted Kaczynski put a bomb on Flight 444, which by the way didn't kill anyone, but it injured 12 people, which symbolizes the church, which the Antichrist will persecute. It was exactly 490 months after this to September 15th, 2020, and the day that Joe Biden on the campaign trail accidentally said that he referred to his administration, a future administration, as the Harris-Biden administration. Whether this was a Freudian slip or just an absent-minded gaffe is irrelevant in the signs here because, well, this is hinting at how, in fact, Joe Biden really isn't going to serve his term in the office of president. And spiritually, for those that are awake and understanding the times prophecy, if you will, that knew that Barack Obama was going to be president again, because we knew that he was the Antichrist long ago, and that the election, would go the way that it did. Anyway, for spiritually, what this sign was communicating when he said and referred to his future administration as the Harris-Biden administration is that he wouldn't really be the president. He wasn't really going to be the upcoming president, and the upcoming president would come through the door of Kamala Harris. That door is when she will die in a plane crash, and then she will be replaced by the Antichrist Barack Obama. And so when Biden was actually saying and referring to his Harris-Biden administration, he was really referring to, spiritually, the root of it is that he was referring to his Obama-Biden administration. Because I don't know for how long of a period it will be that Obama will be the vice president. I don't imagine it will be very long. But that period will be somewhat like what he is referring to in this gaffe, the Harris-Biden, and rather the Obama-Biden administration. Because soon after becoming vice president, Obama will replace Biden, and this will be the plan to begin with. This is how Barack Obama will overcome the 22nd Amendment's restriction on someone being elected to the office more than twice. Obama will be appointed instead through the 25th Amendment. This isn't the first time that Biden has made a spiritually revealing gaffe either. Something that's not really coming from him, but coming from who is controlling him, which is Satan. And for example, there was another gaffe that he made when a reporter asked him about possibly running against Trump in 2024, or I think the question was something like that, or something to the nature of his running in 2024, and who would it be against in 2024? And Biden responded with something right off the cuff, no thinking about it. He responded in a frustrated, kind of intolerant, kind of terse way. He said, I don't even know if there's going to be a Republican Party in 2024, which is quite something to say. I mean, why would you say something like that? And of course, it's true. There won't be a Republican Party in 2024. The Democrat Party by then will be a one-party state. Also, another spiritually revealing gaffe that he made was on October 2nd. He said regarding the budget that was being debated in Congress, he said as he was walking by reporters with, I believe it was Nancy Pelosi and some other top Democrats, he turned around and said, I don't care if we get it done in 6 weeks, 6 days, or 6 hours. We're going to get it done, referring to getting the solution for the budget. But he said, I don't care if we get it done in 6 days or 6 weeks, 6 days, or 6 hours, which is, of course, hinting at 666, Antichrist symbolism. It's astounding that he said that. And that date was October 2nd. And when we add 6 plus 6 plus 6 days, we get October 19th. Sorry, the day he said that was October 1st, not October 2nd. And when we add the 6 plus 6 plus 6 days, we get October 19th, which was a major date that was being looked at ahead of time, even before Biden had made this gaffe, which made his gaffe of 6 weeks, 6 days, and 6 hours, 6 plus 6 plus 6 days before the 19th, really astounding for myself and those that I was communicating with at that time. October 19th ended up being the day of a prophetic plane crash. The plane crash in Harris County, the fourth biggest city in the U.S., Houston, Harris County, and this sign is described in other videos. So also this plane was on its way to the game 4 of the Boston-Houston playoffs. So it was hinting at 44, fourth biggest city. And this isn't the only sign God uses Houston for symbolizing the number 4, and that's also explained. So anyway, that was another of his gaffes. And one more thing, that was an MD McDonnell Douglas Model 87 plane. It was owned by a company named 987 Investments LLC, and it was the 34th anniversary of the Black Monday stock market crash in 1987, which is one of the reasons why I was looking at October 19th ahead of time. And 1987, 987 Investments, and MD 87 model plane are all hinting at the 87 days we add to October 19th to get us to January 14th, the day that Kamala Harris's plane will crash. Anyway, the point for going on about these other spiritually revealing gaffes that Biden has made, and by the way, that in itself is a reason why God designed it, that Biden is a gaffe machine, so that these spiritually revealing gaffes could be made. The reason for going on about that is to give you the second and third witnesses that confirm the matter regarding this Harris-Biden gaffe and how it was a prophetic sign. Of course, the number 666 is associated with the Antichrist, and exactly 6 + 6 + 6 weeks after this Joe Biden gaffe, which put Harris in front of him, it was the day that Biden and Harris were refused by President Trump an Air Force plane. It is tradition for the president to send an Air Force plane to the incoming president. President Trump refused to do this. This was the very last sign of his presidency. Well, the last two signs actually involved Air Force planes. On Inauguration Day, President Trump flew his Air Force One down to Florida past noontime and kept the call signal all the way down till he was in Florida, which apparently he wasn't supposed to do. But this was expected ahead of time on the 19th of January. We were expecting Kamala Harris airplane sign, and we got this. And the reason why it's relevant too is because Trump is God's trumpet that he uses to trumpet his signs. From the Bible, the number 9 symbolizes judgment, and God uses the number 90 to symbolize the number 9. And 90 days after this Harris Air Force sign, this airplane sign, was the day that Kamala Harris was in High Point, North Carolina, visiting an electric bus company and promoting her and Biden's $2.3 trillion infrastructure and job package. 2.3 trillion hints at the number 23, the number of the Antichrist, Barack Obama, and Jesus said he saw Satan falling like lightning from heaven in Luke 10:18. Barack Obama's name in Hebrew means lightning from heaven. The word for lightning in Hebrew is Barak, the word for heaven in Hebrew is Bama, and the word O in Aramaic, the language Jesus would have spoken, is from. Therefore, lightning from heaven. Either Jesus didn't know what he was saying, or he knew that there would be a famous president named Barack Obama and said it anyway, even though it would be confusing for us, or he was identifying the Antichrist, and obviously the latter option is the only rational one. When Kamala Harris dies in a plane crash and then is replaced by the Antichrist, this is exactly what will be symbolized: Satan falling like lightning from heaven. She visited an electric bus company, which symbolizes lightning, and High Point symbolizes the high places, or the high place, which in the book of Isaiah chapter 14, it is said that Lucifer fell from the high place, which is a metaphor for heaven. Which is why Harris's visit to an electric bus company in High Point symbolizes Jesus saying he saw Satan falling like lightning from heaven. Again, he or she was there to promote her and Biden's $2.3 trillion jobs package, and 2.3 hints at the number 23. God uses the number 23 to reveal the identity of the Antichrist, the basketball president who wore jersey number 23 when he played basketball in high school. In the Old Testament in the Bible, it is described how 2 goats were used on the Day of Atonement in the ritual on the Temple Mount. In Bible prophecy, there are two antichrists, and in Bible prophecy, it is said that the Antichrist will rule the Temple Mount during the end times period. And the Antichrist will be vanquished from the Temple Mount at the return of Lord Jesus Christ on the Day of Atonement in 2024. Goat is Antichrist symbolism. Goat stands for greatest of all time. And this is why the two GOATs of basketball wore jersey number 23, Michael Jordan and LeBron James. The GOAT of basketball, Michael Jordan, played for Chicago, and the GOAT Antichrist, the basketball president, is from Chicago. LeBron James is famous for being from Cleveland and having played for Cleveland and having won the NBA Finals championship for Cleveland, breaking the supposed Cleveland sports curse, which is Antichrist King symbolism, which is why LeBron James goes by the nickname King James. And this was used to point to the president Grover Cleveland, who was the only president to serve non-consecutive terms, skipping the 23rd presidency, just like the Antichrist will serve non-consecutive terms, having skipped the 45th presidency. This is why Michael Jordan, in the exact middle of his career, after having won 3 NBA titles and before winning his other 3 NBA titles, retired briefly, and when he returned, wore jersey number 45 for coincidentally 23 games. And it is why Michael Jordan, in his last game as a Chicago Bull, another city God uses to point to the Antichrist, who is also from Chicago, scored 45 points against the team from the 45th state. Like Michael Jordan, LeBron James also played in Cleveland, then famously left Cleveland in much controversy, and then returned again to play a second time in Cleveland in order to win the championship for Cleveland and break the Cleveland sports curse, which symbolizes the Antichrist curse of Barack Obama when he will return to the White House for his second presidency, which is predicted to be on December 18th, 2022. When LeBron James returned for his second time to Cleveland, it took him 2 years to win the NBA championship. Just like when Barack Obama will return to the White House, he will be president for the 2 years leading up to the second coming of Lord Jesus Christ in 2024. God pairs the numbers 9 and 23 together in order to confirm the signs and connections and to reveal the identity of the Antichrist, the basketball president that wore jersey number 23 when he played basketball in high school and became president in 2009. From the Bible, the numbers 9 and 23 both symbolize judgment, and the number 23 is the 9th prime number. The only grandfather-grandson presidents were the 9th and 23rd presidents, William and Benjamin Harrison. The 9th president, William Harrison, died on the calendar date April 4th, 44, which hints at the 44th president. Harrison died exactly 1 month after his inauguration. The name Harrison hints at Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris will die in a plane crash due to a bird strike on November 3rd, and the Antichrist Barack Obama will rise to power and become president again through her replacement. Michelle Obama will first replace Kamala Harris, and then Barack will replace Michelle. Michelle is the feminine version of Michael, which is the reason for the name Michael in the name Michael Jordan. In the Bible, the Hebrews crossed the Jordan River into the Promised Land. Barack Obama's famous autobiography is named A Promised Land. Obama the Antichrist will promise the world a new world order utopia. A goat is Antichrist symbolism. The greatest of all time, the GOAT of basketball, Michael Jordan, wore jersey number 23 and jersey number 9 when he played for the U.S. Olympic Dream Team, a team that beat their opponents by an average of 44 points per game, which hints at the 44th president, GOAT Antichrist, that wore jersey number 23 and became president in 2009. If you have not already watched the Michael Jordan prophecy video on this channel, the Michael Jordan prophecy video is an essential video for foundational understanding of how God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections works. So the numbers 9 and 23 both symbolize judgment from the Bible, and God pairs the numbers 9 and 23 together to confirm the signs and connections and to reveal the identity of the Antichrist. And this 2.3 trillion, as we can see here, pairs with this 90 days. 2.3 hints at 23, 90 hints at 9. And the day that she promoted the 2.3 trillion was exactly 9 years after Vice President Joe Biden had to make an emergency landing in his Air Force Two plane when he was in California, the state that Harris represented as senator, due to a bird strike. His plane was struck by a bird in California. They had to make an emergency landing exactly 9 years before she promoted 2.3 trillion in High Point at an electric bus company. And that's more confirmation of this sign here because it pairs with the number 9, the 9 years. Also, this day is not only connecting with 90 days, it's also connecting forward with 3 times 90 days to the day that she will fall from the sky in a plane crash due to a bird strike. This is confirmed also because if we add the just an initial 90 days, we get a prophetic plane crash that occurred on the 9th of Av in the Hebrew calendar. And that is explained in other videos. And so that's another pairing of the numbers 9 and 23. So all of this confirms itself here. God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections works on the principle of second and third and multiple witnesses confirming matters as the Bible says is required. Otherwise, this is delusional. And so far, every step has been, as you can see, a second witness because, for example, 6 + 6 + 6 weeks is a second witness to the 490 months, which is also about the Antichrist, right? The number 90 God uses to symbolize the number 9, which symbolizes judgment, one of the 3 most important numbers God uses profusely in his signs. And the second witness to this is that exactly 9 weeks back from this Biden-Harris Air Force sign was the day that Barack Obama released his Promised Land book on the date 11/17, which hints at the number 1117, which is part of the lightning from heaven equation. In Strong's Concordance, H1117 is the word for Obama, which means high place, which is the metaphor for heaven used in Isaiah chapter 14, when it is said that Lucifer fell from the high place. The high places being the places that the Jews would worship the false gods on top of mountains. And so exactly 9 weeks back is this big prophetic sign, which is the release of Barack Obama's book, The Promised Land. There's more confirmation for that, but that would be to go off onto a tangent. And I just want to cut this video short. But this was also the same day that the Rockefeller Christmas tree story was in the news. The Rockefeller Christmas tree arrived in Rockefeller, New York, in Manhattan. And the news was reporting and social media was reporting how sad and scraggly looking the tree was. And they discovered an owl in the tree. Well, the first instance of the word owl in the Bible occurs in Leviticus chapter 11, verse 17. So this is hinting at Barack Obama. Also, Barack Obama is known as a night owl. The media reported how Barack Obama was a night owl and how it contrasted with his predecessor, George Bush, who was known as an early bird. And so, yeah, Barack Obama is known as the night owl, and we have this owl in the tree. The first reference of it is in Leviticus 11:17, and this is the date 11:17. And this tree was cut down from Route 23 in New York State, and it was 23 meters high. God uses the number 23 to reveal the identity of the Antichrist, who is the basketball president and wore jersey number 23 when he played basketball in high school. And a third or a multiple witness to all of this is that God pairs the numbers 9 and 23 together to point to Barack Obama. And this comes from Revelation chapter 12, which was about the Antichrist that comes after the rapture. And also for many other reasons why God pairs the numbers 9 and 23 to point to Barack Obama. They both symbolize judgment, these numbers, and the number 23 is the ninth prime number. Okay, on the top here, this trail of signs is a second witness to this trail of signs, which are both beginning and ending with the bombing of Flight 444 by the Unabomber that injured 23 people, hinting at the Antichrist that wore Jersey 23, to the day that Harris's plane will crash, who will then be replaced by the basketball president that wore jersey number 23. Up here, so here was 490 months. And again, that comes from the most central prophecy in the Bible, which is the 77s prophecy. So it's 70 times 7 months is 490 months. That's what gets us to this prophetic sign right here. Well, here it is 50 times 7 months. And that's relevant because of the 70 times 7 months. Okay, 50 is one of the three most important numbers in God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections. For one thing, it symbolizes the church, which the Antichrist will persecute during the end times, but also 50 is used as judgment warning for the church, because as Peter said, judgment begins with the church. Anyway, what we have here is 50 times 7, which is again relevant because of the 70 times 7 months, to this extremely prophetic plane crash. Arguably, it's the most prophetic plane crash. This was just prior to the 44th president's inauguration. Flight 1549, the ditching of the plane into the Hudson River adjacent to Lower Manhattan, which, by the way, made it a 9/11 sign, because the view of the towers falling and the smoke rising after was from the New Jersey shore would have been overlooking this very part of the Hudson River. So this event is known as the Miracle on the Hudson. Chesley Sully Sullenberger ditched this plane in a heroic act. The story is phenomenal. There was a major movie made about it starring Tom Hanks. And there's a lot more. Again, God's big picture is an interconnected web, and when you try to explain one part of the web, you end up pulling the entire web, and because everything requires a second and third witness to confirm it, and then they in turn require second and third witnesses to confirm them, and this goes on into infinity. There are many other connections, important ones, that stem from the Flight 1549 event, but I won't get into that. One that I will mention, though, the ditching of the flight was also a Noah's flood symbolism sign, because all of the passengers and the crew survived, but they were all rescued by boat in the Hudson River as the plane sank. So this was a flooding of the plane, and they were rescued by boats, which had Noah's flood symbolism in it. And where the Antichrist, Barack Obama, intersects this sign is at his first State of the Union speech on February 24th, 2009. Sully Sullenberger was in attendance and received a standing ovation at the behest of Barack Obama during his speech. And so the two interact, they connect right there. And that was exactly 40 days after the ditching of the plane. And 40 days is extremely relevant because it comes from Genesis and the flood account, the flood waters lasting for 40 days. And that's why it connects with the 40 days. And that's why the Antichrist meeting Sully Sullenberger in this prophetic moment at the State of the Union address was 40 days after this flood symbolism sign, which is confirmation for Barack Obama coming to power through a prophetic plane crash, Harris's plane crash, which will be exactly 13 years later. Now, from the Bible, the number 13 symbolizes the Antichrist. Nimrod was a type for the Antichrist, a prophetic foreshadow, and he was the 13th generation from Ham, Haman was another type for the Antichrist, and he persecuted the Jews on the 13th days of the months. And the two Antichrists are described in the book of Revelation, chapter 13. That's why this 13 months exact connection to the day that Harris's plane will crash. It's 1 day shy, but it's not, because that's the completion of 13 years. This is also the case with other prophetic signs God has arranged. It's the completion of the 13 years. And so that's why that's relevant. My hunch, too, is that one reason why it can't be the exact days, because God doesn't want to make it too obvious. It's for those that have the eyes to see, and he's not going to have this prophetic plane crash on the exact anniversary. That's just a personal belief of mine. But regardless, it is a complete 13 years. And even if that wasn't even the case, it's still close enough. But anyway, so that's huge. That is huge. I just want to say, in fact, this video should have been titled Flight 1549. I might cut this out and make a mini video out of it because it's that important. But I didn't, because it also fits into this UNABOMBER sign right here, Flight 444. Importantly, though, the crash or the ditching of Flight 1549 was a 9/11 sign. And the number 119 symbolizes this because it contains the number 11 and 9. Exactly 119 months after Obama intersects with Sully at the State of the Union address was the day of January 24th, 2019, the day of the prophetic rare 3.8 magnitude earthquake in downtown Nazareth, Israel, on the same day that Justify, the Triple Crown winner horse, which is extremely prophetic, received the Eclipse Award for Horse of the Year. Justify symbolizing the justifier, Lord Jesus Christ. And that in turn was exactly 44 months to September 24th, 2022, and what I believe the signs are overwhelmingly indicating to be the day of the catastrophic solar flare and asteroid. I'm still kind of confused. I suppose they both happen on the same day because that's what the signs are communicating, at least. And the eruption of Yellowstone volcano. And anyway, that's just right before the rapture on the 26th. But the September 24th will be the 50th anniversary of the crash of the airplane into Farrell's ice cream shop in 1972 that killed 23 people. The 50th anniversary is another 50 here. And again, Flight 1549 was 50 times 7 months after Flight 444. And the 50th anniversary will be 44 months after the Nazareth earthquake. Aliens and UFOs are demons masquerading as aliens and UFOs. Most people's spiritual experiences are demonic deception, especially if they are not a true follower of Christ. The New Age or New Spirituality or Consciousness religion is evil deception from Satan. There is a spiritual reality behind the material world that we see. The wages for sin is death. Sin means to miss the mark. No one is good, all have sinned. Because of sin, people are captives of the ruler of this world, Satan. People's souls belong to Satan, whose power over people is death. God took the form of a man, Jesus Christ, and paid the ransom that is owed to the ruler of this world. Through Christ's death and resurrection, he defeated sin and he overcame Satan's power in death. It is through Christ and his Spirit that it is possible for everyone to be forgiven of their sin, and we can have eternal life if we choose it. We can choose to follow Jesus out of captivity from sin and Satan. Or we can choose to reject this and remain a slave to this world, sin, and to Satan. If one rejects Jesus Christ, after they die, they will pay the price for their sin in hell, and then they will die the second death, and their soul will cease to exist. Believing in Christ means much more than simple intellectual agreement. It means to repent of sin and completely commit one's life and become a willing slave to Jesus and his kingdom. Jesus said we need to be born again, which implies a death of the self and a death to this world. Believing in Jesus implies living out one's faith through taking action that typically involves risk and sacrifice. This demonstration of faith through action is what it means to have faith and to believe in Jesus. Some Christians will tell you otherwise, but they are deceived and they ignore countless passages in the Bible. Please leave a like and upvote the video, and once this prediction has come to pass, share this video with everyone you know, and more, don't stop sharing it everywhere in social media. It is essential that everyone immediately read the homepage of my website, TrumpPrediction.com.